Good day and welcome to Global Learning Ecosystem 2.0, the tools to make it happen. My name is Linda, and I'm here with Joe and Whitney. We're talking about, as part of the Internationalization at Home conference, we want to share with you a model and assessment tool that we have developed and are pilot testing in a few U.S. higher education institutions. I will share the pivotal moments in the development of the model, lay out the components of the tool and how it works, and then hand the presentation over to my colleagues, Whitney and Joe, who will demonstrate how they are using the assessment and outcomes tool at their respective institutions. Next. Here is more information about each of the three of us, so that if you would like to be in contact with us after the presentation or you have any questions, here's how to find us. Next. The global learning ecosystem. Joe and I wrote about this topic at the moment. Faculty across institutions were beginning to embrace global learning across their academic departments in an interdisciplinary way. At the same time, administrators and staff were doing similarly. Our original model aimed to move internationalization from the top-down process that it was into more of the middle and having global learning outcomes be the central operating principle, in addition to structures and individual programs. We asked the questions: what do we want students to have learned by graduation? What do we need in order to make those outcomes happen? It was a dynamic ecosystem. It was inclusive. We wrote our chapter, and then the pandemic hit. Next. When we came back to the ecosystem in 2023, we looked at how COVID had changed the implementation of our global learning ecosystem. Joe and I partnered with Whitney and some of our other collaborators who were promoting the global learning ecosystem on their campuses. This provides a window into how our original model has changed. Our next generation, we added the student community and intentionality into the global learning ecosystem. This meant that our three indicators needed to be adjusted. So we still have global learning outcomes, mission, and institutional structure, but now, more accurately, we have academic and co-curricular programs. Next. So if these are our three indicators, what factors do we want to measure? So an example here with global learning outcomes, this is what our indicator states, and then in blue, you see some of the factors that we feel contribute to this indicator. Next. In our academic and co-curricular programs, here's our definition of our indicator, and in blue, again, are the factors that lead into this indicator. Lastly, next, we have mission and institutional structure, our statement, and then our factors that we want to measure. Next. So if we have our indicators, we know what factors we want to measure, then the next question is, how do we measure progress? So we have 4 categories that we have defined that move from inadequate straight through to integrated, so that we can say, where are we in achieving these factors? And what else do we need to do? Next. How do we implement these changes in our factors so that we can move across the continuum? We have to ask, what is the goal we're trying to achieve? And what activities do you want to implement to achieve them? What are our long-term, 3 to 4 years goals that we are trying to achieve? Who can help us to define them? Who can help us to achieve them? And lastly, what tools are we using to make things happen? Next. So when we I realize this is overwhelming. Once we put all of these together, here's what it looks like in a rubric. On the left-hand side, we have our indicators with our factors. You see all three of them there. Then on the right-hand side, you see our path to progress, how we're measuring our outcomes. On the far right, we're at inadequate, straight through to integrated. And in the middle, we have our goals and our activities. What we're now going to see is an opportunity to hear how Whitney and then Joe have used this rubric in their own programs. Whitney?
Thank you, Linda. So I'm situated at Northeastern University within the School of Law on our Boston, Massachusetts campus. Northeastern has 14 campuses, 9 different schools and colleges, just over 52,000 students, and almost 20,000 international students, with this campus being the second highest population of international students at a U.S. university and college. So in thinking about all of this and my place in the law school, it was really exciting to start working with this rubric. Next. And so within my role, which I was new to last year, the rubric guided and assisted me in really figuring out what did I want to create for a long-term strategy for my role, and how could I see if and when the programs that I oversee were being integrated into not only the law school, but also Northeastern as a whole. So specifically thinking about the LLM program, Master of Laws for Foreign Trained Attorneys program, study abroad and global mobility opportunities for JD and Flex JD students, and then the international student services for the students within the law school. 63 students last year, 79 students this year. This is the smallest population of international students between Northeastern's different colleges, but a growing one. So with these three aspects of my position in mind, I set to the rubric. Next, please. And so as you saw, the rubric is very large, very color coordinated, as Linda described. So within the academic and co-curricular program section, this is where I really want to focus the discussion here. So there are 5 factors as indicated here. And because I was new in my role and really sorting out what was the most critical important information to learn and gather right away to then take action on, I utilized 3 of the factors: international students and scholars integration and belonging, faculty and staff development, and intentional education abroad. One day, hopefully, I will be able to include the internationalization at home and the COIL opportunities with relation to my role. Next. So again, thinking about that color coordinated grid, with the 3 factors that I just described, I have the goals and activities. So the first goal, de-siloing the JD and LLM students by blending their academic and social experiences. So this has been initiated, or the discussions on process and policies have been started, and the people who need to be involved have become involved. So thus far, I've gathered information from faculty, from co-op staff, and from the leadership. So providing collaborative opportunities and career information sharing is the activity. So how can LLMs who are experienced and trained lawyers already provide advice and guidance to JD students who are becoming lawyers and are new to the field? Again, this has been initiated. The second goal, to reverse faculty bias against multilingual students. Where are we with that? So that has been implemented, or it's in the decision-making stage on what is needed and how we can achieve this goal. So training for faculty about the deficiency mindset approach to multilingual and LLM students. Thus far, I've had initial conversations on the need for training with the Assistant Dean of DEI, now the Assistant Dean of Belonging, and information about the student experience from students and also staff observations have been gathered. So all of this information together can create a path and a plan to move forward in policies and processes that can be put in place. Therefore, it has been implemented. The final goal, to expand and develop new mobility opportunities for students, is also implemented, or in the decision-making phase. So there's support from the dean of the law school, the academic deans, as well as my colleagues who would be pivotal in initiating this initiative. So reviewing our current partnerships, of which we have one, partnering with our colleagues at the Northeastern London campus, which also has a law school, to create mobility and exchange opportunities, also +1 programs for those LLB students and for our JD students in exchange. So again, implemented. So within the first year, I've been able to take actionable steps towards improving and integrating my role within the law school, but also the law school within the larger university. So I'll let Joe take it from here.
Thanks, Whitney. My name is Joe Hoff, and I work at a large urban research university in Charlotte, North Carolina, within the US. We have about 30,000 students, 8 colleges or faculties, including engineering, computing, and informatics and business, 2,000 international students, and we send about 700 students abroad. A little differently from Whitney, who is focusing on a particular program, the LLM program within the College of Law at Northeastern. Ours is a central university-wide internationalization office. And so we're trying to reach out to as many of the colleges and departments across campus as possible. The programs that we wish to assess, because again, we're focusing on global learning outcomes, right, is to assess the faculty development and other global learning opportunities at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Specifically, our now in its 4th year Global Learning and Internationalization Institute, our faculty-led study abroad programs, and globally network learning, a type of virtual exchange opportunities. According to the rubric, again, in different color-coded sections, the factors we wanted to measure was faculty collaboration on curriculum development, mainly because we feel that having a community of practice is a valuable way for faculty to expand global and intercultural learning in their courses, study abroad, or virtual exchange. Developing teaching and accessible global learning outcomes for students, faculty, and staff. We felt this was necessary in order to give the faculty a pathway forward of what they were going to actually assess. And as you can see, these are the 4 here. Communicate the global relevance of your discipline, engage with cultural similarities and differences, critically examine one's own cultural situatedness, explain the global interconnectedness of people and places. We worked with a group of faculty to come up with these global learning outcomes. And finally, fostering collaborations between colleges, faculties, and departments within the institution to promote faculty, staff, and student success. We're still working on cross-disciplinary intercultural learning, as well as improved intercultural knowledge, skills, and attitudes in students, faculty, and staff across the university. And this is the progress and impact. So one of the factors, faculty collaboration on curriculum development. We have, as I mentioned previously, we're now going to be in our 4th year of our Global Learning and Internationalization Institute. We have served 45 faculty members, professors so far from almost all of the colleges across campus, except for computing and informatics, and we'll have an additional 15 this coming year. During the Global Learning and Internationalization Institute, faculty develop a community of practice from the different years that they have participated, in which they learn from each other about the different ways to include global and intercultural learning in their courses, study abroad, or virtual exchange. The second one was goal was developing teaching and accessible global learning outcomes for students, faculty, and staff. As I mentioned previously in my previous slide, this has been accomplished. It's now fully integrated into study abroad, virtual exchange, as well as on-campus curriculum development. And finally, fostering collaborations between colleges, faculties, and departments. This is being implemented. We do have at least 3 sets of collaborations through the Global Learning and Internationalization Institute between engineering and music faculty, education and public health faculty members, and architecture and engineering members. In addition, we've had about 30 faculty members lead a faculty-led study abroad program, and they have worked together on how to integrate global and intercultural learning into their faculty-led study abroad programs. And finally, we're now collaborating with our Center for Teaching on Learning on globally networked learning or virtual learning activities, meaning that they now are helping us spread the word about virtual exchange as a possibility for internationalization across campus. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Linda for a final view.
That was great, you two. It's wonderful to get a chance to see how it all fits together when you put some life and programs into the rubric. But there are a couple of points to remember. Joe and Whitney spoke to specific indicators. When you fill out your rubric, you want to look across all three of the indicators so you can get a full picture. Use this as an annual assessment tool, short or long term, but it should be done on a cycle. Remember that where you are situated in the institution and how long you've been there is going to impact the breadth of the work and your ability to make it happen in a year. Know who your champions are, your collaborators, and also your detractors, because that's going to influence your progress and may help you make choices about which activities you want to try to accomplish first. And lastly, the annual evaluation cycle should look different as you change your long-term global learning ecosystem model because you're tracking your progress on the continuum. And for the three of us, we'd like to say thank you very much for your time.